so grateful Ron Zambrano is here to break it down. Blake Lively is admitting defeat. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore. It's interesting because she's admitting defeat, but she's doing it in a sneaky way. And I'm so grateful we have Ron back. Welcome back, Ron. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Andy. I hope all's well with you.
Yes, we're doing good. Thank you. I want to get into this because this dropped last night, and thank you for parking and making time, as you always do, to react to these crazy filings. It's just nonstop with the Blake Lively story. But it's interesting, as to summarize, correct me if I'm wrong here, we're looking at a filing from both Friedman as well as here from Lively, an email they attached where she is attempting to withdraw. Here's the email effectively. Sorry, I'm making sure you can see it here. Here it is. She is trying to partially dismiss without prejudice, basically her emotional distress, all that stuff. Can you sort of explain what we're looking at and what this request for, before we get into the craziness of it, what is Blake actually requesting here?
Sure. So Blake has a bunch of legal theories or claims in her current complaint. And at any point, she can dismiss one or a combination of them as she sees fit. In federal court, it has to be a stipulation to dismiss, which means the other side has to agree to the form of how the dismissal is happening. So that's what you're looking at here. And there's a fight, which we'll probably talk about, as to how the dismissal is being done. Is it with or without prejudice? And I could talk about that if you'd like, or I don't know if your viewers already know about that.
Well, she's asking for without, but before we even get to the sort of what that means, the emotional distress is a big part of it, right? That all this intentional infliction of distress, etc. That's a big part of her damages, no? So to take that out is a big thing, correct?
Yeah. So there are three types of damages typically in every civil lawsuit. There's what's called economic damages, which is things that you can calculate, like loss of earnings or loss of profits, as long as they're not too speculative. The other thing is called non-economic damages, which is emotional distress. And then the third one is punitive damages, which doesn't really come in until like the very, very end of the case or during trial. Now, those are things you can ask for money. There are separate legal theories that are emotional distress based. So one is intentional infliction of emotional distress, which is, I don't know, you drove your car into my house while I was watching, and that caused me suffering, right? And the same thing can be with negligent infliction of emotional distress. So that's a legal theory that's based on the harm of emotional distress. But that doesn't mean she can't ask for the non-economic damages through the other remaining claims, such as harassment or hostile work environment.
Now, and because she's asking for it without prejudice, that also, from what I'm gathering, opens up that she could bring it up later, correct?
Right. So if the dismissal is without prejudice, that means that as long as it's within the statutory, the statute of limitations, she's allowed to bring them back in a timely way. And Baldoni's folks are not really happy with that because it is true. You can't, if you're going to get rid of it to get away to avoid what she wants to avoid, which is not having the identifying her medical and mental health providers, then let's put this to rest for it to never come back. And I think that's a fair thing to ask in the middle of litigation.
Well, that's what Wayfarer's side. This is coming in from the Mitzer Seelig, Fritz. There's a lot of lawyers in this case. I'm losing track of them all. Yeah. But Justin's side has filed back saying, not so fast. Very quickly saying, look, if you're going to withdraw this, then it needs to be with prejudice to ensure it can't be refiled. They have a motion already out to get her medical records, and clearly that seems to be the sticking point here, the pressure point that they've achieved. Well, if you're going to declare emotional distress, we get to see more of your medical records, et cetera, et cetera. She clearly does not want to do that, understandably, but that makes this more complicated. So motions are out, things have already been made, to ask for them to, well, okay, we dismiss it with prejudice, without prejudice rather, so we can maybe decide later, puts Justin's camp in a terrible position where now they're screwed. If she wants to say no during this discovery period, they don't get to get it. And then if she refiles it, they can't go get it then either, correct?
So that would be the fear that Baldoni's lawyers would have, that if she would refile, that it would be past the discovery cutoff, and that the circumstances would be they can't do any more discovery for the things that they're giving up now. I don't think that would really happen. I think the judge would see what happened, would see what we call sharp practice, which is basically like being sneaky. But here you brought up this thing of the motion itself. So they have a motion set that this letter asks, like, hey, I want you to grant this motion ordering her to give us the identity of these people so that we can go get those documents through a subpoena. And what Lively's trying to do, like, hey, I'm going to get rid of these anyway, so you, court, don't really have to order me to do anything, because look, I'm not asking for this stuff anymore. So no harm, no foul, deny the motion. And as all good litigants do, you don't want a motion to be dismissed on what would be a procedural technicality, going, well, like, there's no issue, like the thing is moot, there's no claim anymore. And I think they're right to ask, like, no, before, if you're going to deny the motion, it's only because the claims were dismissed with prejudice. If they're without prejudice, then we still want that motion to be granted. And I think it's a good follow through and good advocacy for Baldoni's side.
Well, it's interesting because overall, you think this is going to go through, or it's not?
I think the judge will say, the judge will do one of two things: either force. Give Lively's team, like, listen, I'm going to grant this unless it's with prejudice. They could do that. The judge could do that and be like, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do over on a phone call. Or what the judge will say is, I don't really want to waste time with this. I'm not going to grant this. I'm going to deny the motion without prejudice. I'm going to allow them this claim to go without prejudice. And if Lively wants to bring this stuff up again and formally amend her complaint to re-add these claims, you guys can come back and we can pick this fight then. But for now, no, there is no controversy for me to fix. That could be something the court can do.
Right. And so in which case, then still it's a win towards Justin, because she's withdrawn some of her things, which is going to make it a lot harder to win, which also, mind you, separately, I didn't even mention this, but she keeps trying to claim that, oh, well, all my Blake Brown hair care products did so poorly because of the retaliation campaign. Well, now more articles are coming in saying, oh, no. It started going down way after that during the lawsuits phase. Now Target and other outlets are seeing how her brand is doing, and it's bombing, and it's doing incredibly poorly in retail stores. And it did even worse after she filed the lawsuits and Justin filed his responses, proving, well, wait a second, this might just be a Blake problem, not a retaliation problem. This is also going to affect her, right? Because again, that's where I want to come back to you. Like, what are the damages she can still sort of claim if they're able to prove by the numbers through these industry newsletters and stuff that, yeah, her brand was already suffering because of her, not because of Justin. And now the emotional distress is gone too. What's left?
So her temporal window of where she can have the jury calculate loss, right? Loss of money for her business will probably stop at the point that she filed her lawsuit. And so it's going to be a very small window, because what she would like is, like, from whatever day she decided she was being retaliated against to today. But Baldoni's team would probably do what I would do, which is, like, listen, you cannot blame us for defending ourselves and saying by us defending ourselves in court that you lost money. That's something that's protected. And the court will be like, yep, that's right. So when was the date that you guys filed? Oh, this date? Okay, you can't get any, assuming you can prove loss of profits at all, it cannot go past a certain date, which is probably the date she filed the lawsuit and the New York Times article came out. Because after that, it's too speculative, right? The courts don't allow the juries to enter into and entertain anything that's too speculative, that is so highly controverted. So it's a big, if this is true, which I probably is, I mean, just from a conceptual standpoint, her window for what's called the economic damages, the thing that you could try to calculate, will be a very, very small window and not past the time the New York Times article came out.
So overall, all this news is a win for Justin, you would say, correct?
Yes, in the sense that it minimizes the amount of money that she can ask a jury, assuming she even wins, to award, right? Because now it's like, well, she's kind of giving up on the emotional distress to avoid the, giving up her medical records. And
which she's going to victimize without a doubt. I couldn't even, they needed to get all my private records. I'm sure that's going to be part of the argument.
I don't know, but that's typically what plaintiffs do, unfortunately. But you know what, you kind of open yourself up. Like, you want money for your emotional distress? Well, we get to see what else is causing that beyond the thing you're mad about in this lawsuit. And then the economic damages, which is, again, for someone like her who comes from such a powerful place, I don't know what else she could point to other than her business, right? I don't know if she can. So it's going to be, this is a, without like a win-win in a jury, it really dilutes the amount of what we call exposure, monetary exposure she can ever hope to win going forward, especially if she does this without prejudice on the emotional distress stuff, because that's the stuff that you have a shot with a jury if you get them mad enough to like award millions of dollars.
Fascinating. There's a lot more. We'll try and bring you back if you have time, because I want to talk about these other issues. So please make sure you hit that subscribe if you haven't already, guys. Hit that bell for all alerts. Smash that thumbs up and let us know what you think of Ron down below. Thank him in the credits, comments down below. Always appreciate you, sir, making the time. We got a lot more coming your way here on Popcorn Planet, so stay tuned. And don't forget, our Diddy coverage is here every day after every trial day.